Howdy, howdy, howdy. Day 4, Friday. It's the weekend, friends. What's up? What's happening, everybody? Joining in. Gonna do an Instagram live practice one more time. I'll also be posting these later for people to watch. So if you're watching it wondering why this is filmed vertical, it's because this is a live session that we'll repost later. So today, day 4 of practice, day 4 of training. You can't see it here, but down on the ground, I've got my feet traced with chalk. I've also got a line drawn right down through the center. And when I look down to check my stance for the shots, I've got a reminder written right there on the floor for the theme of what I want to focus on today, which is behind the line. So if you watched yesterday, you recognize that the miss that I had was low and to the right or straight right of the X-ring, which for me is an indicator of quitting my shot, not following through, release hand over the shoulder, quit my shot, came out away from my face. Could be slight torque, but most likely it's probably how I'm pulling through, especially as I get tired. Today being Friday, I usually lift heavy on a Saturday morning since I'm home. So today I did not lift and should be a fairly strong practice session. Feel pretty good. It's early afternoon. So behind the line, day 4, that's the theme. And we're going to get after it. So I won't be reading a lot of comments. I'm just going to focus on practice, coaching along the way. If I identify something with myself, I'll let you know. So that's the plans. Let's get it going. 4 arrows, 10 ends. Not playing any music because Instagram cut me off yesterday, so it kind of kills my vibe for personal training, but I'll do that at the expense of all you watching right now. If you're new to a tension release, I highly recommend a shot trainer, which is a string with a handle, because you just get used to letting off the safety, pulling through, and then start close, start with a big target if you're doing it for the first time. But I've got this release set at about 3 to 3.5 pounds over my holding weight, just so that once I let off that safety and initiate my pull, or what I refer to in my mind is engage. Once that happens, I really like that shot to go anywhere from 4 to 7 seconds, ideally. All right, come on down with me. So when I talk about engage, that's something that I incorporated into my shot routine years ago. Give you a quick look. Good. That's something that I incorporated into my shot routine years ago. And what I tell people is once you acquire your target, so I've centered front sight, rear sight. So peep and front sight are completely eclipsed. I've got my pin on the target, and I always think about like Top Gun, and that's what I coach people. It's just like Top Gun when Maverick's got Jester in that little reticle there. He's got his aiming device on there. He's ready to engage. So as soon as my pin acquires that target, I'm thinking, all right, target acquired, just like when he flips the switch up to go to his activator on that steering console. Same thing. I think of the same thing as soon as I let my thumb off the safety of the silverback. That baby's ready to fire. So now it's just engage, engage, engage. And when the shot fires, just continue to follow through. Flex that bicep to pull that release hand over the top of the rear shoulder so that if I'm facing you, my release hand is coming back like this so the string can follow that same path. Otherwise, if I do this, that string is going out that way, as does that arrow. All right, so we're on N2. I got some chalk today. That way I don't forget what end I'm on. Nice. For those of you wondering, I'm not left-handed. I can't flip it if I'm on Instagram Live. It doesn't reverse what's happening, so you'll just have to imagine this right-handed. I'll flip it before I repost it. And the other thing, I get asked this all the time because I wear my watches on my right hand. I'm not left-handed. I wear my watch on my right hand because I've always wanted my left arm to be 100% consistent. The only person that ever figured that out was Dr. Peter Attia. He said, do you wear your watch on your right hand so that your bow arm always feels the same? And I said, you got it. It's the only person to ever figure that out, but that is why I do it. All right, here we go. 2 more. Nice. One of the things that you can do if you're working with the silverback is you can mentally count in your head as you're pulling through. It's a good solid in. Good. You can count in your head 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000, 5 1000. And sometimes with people who are dealing with that fear of being in the scoring ring too long and it not going off, by you counting, you're occupying your conscious thoughts so that you're distracting yourself enough to where you're continuing to do something without worrying about the fact that, oh my gosh, I'm in the middle, I need it to go. Because the reality is you don't need it to go. What you want is you want it to stay there. You know, Happy Gilmore, talk about that happy place, go in that happy place. For me, that happy place is right here. This is my happy place. If I'm frozen down here, I'm not comfortable with that. That's not where I want to be. I want to be right here. I want to be in the center of that spot. And I just get to the point where I just count 1 1000, 2 1000. Things are freaking going good. You're in there. Like, you're in there. That's awesome. You don't want to just go in there for a second and force that trigger to happen. You want to be in your happy place. Do some counting if you need to occupy that conscious thought process. Otherwise, for me, all I'm focusing on is I feel this continual pull and the continual tightening of that small rhomboid muscle that's just on the inside of my shoulder blade, between my shoulder blade and my spine. Okay, so we're on N3. Here we go. That time, I actually was counting in my head. It's one thing I used to do, is repeat a process in my mind, continually repeat something as I'm within that area that I want my pin to be in, and it just takes a little bit of that mental edge off of feeling like maybe you're there too long or maybe you're holding too long. I'm very passionate about I'm a dynamic shooter. I'm not a static shooter. Static shooters focus downrange, they focus on aiming, they focus on holding, they focus on waiting. I focus on allowing that movement as I dynamically continue through my shot until it activates. That's a huge hurdle for some people mentally to get over that thought. I did not lift today. I don't know if I said that earlier. I normally lift heavy on Saturdays, so today I did not lift. Feels super good in here right now. Even pulling the bow back, if you watch this video versus yesterday's video, just at how I'm coming through that draw cycle, at least on these first 2.5 ends, how I'm coming through that draw cycle is definitely better than some of the shots that I had yesterday as well. This bow does have a slight squeak sometimes. I know that. I just don't want to take it apart yet. This thing was on a four-wheeler for miles and miles and miles, getting all that Utah red dust in the limb pockets. So it needs a little winter cleaning. Just haven't done it yet. One of the things that is very evident right now in this practice, and I'll show you down here, one of the things that I'm really pumped about is, once again, we're good. One of the things I'm pumped about is on those first several days, or I should say the first day. First day, really, I was shooting paper. Target number 4 was kind of a bummer. But see that target? That target is just getting better and better and better. And when I finish on that 4th arrow close to center like that, it's really awesome. That flag right there is from SEAL Team 8. That was overseas during the war of Iraq. Someone sent me that. So I've got it up here to remind me how much I appreciate everyone who's sacrificed for the freedoms of getting ready to shoot archery. Enjoy that. All right. And 4, here we go. I'll give this one regular pace, no talking. Here we go. that's what an end would look like if it was just me doing that without talking to you all. One thing I'll say is that if you're coming out of hunting season, having that maintenance on your gear is pretty imperative. Super clean end again, inside out. Shoot a little better when I'm not chatting. But like, for example, when our gun season opens tomorrow here in Iowa, so I had a little bit of time between now and when late season opens back up. So I actually sent my Noctuits and one of my Too Smooth, I actually sent them back to Carter and just paid a little bit to have all new internals put in, just because throughout the season, just like with this bow getting beat around on a four-wheeler and in the dust and all that stuff, with Carter, I've always thought it's smart to take a release that's had freezing cold mornings, then heating up. You have that constant condensation on there. So I did have those, rebuilt. I do mine every year personally, but they get a lot of reps. But right now I've got new Silverback Plus. For those joining in, this is set 3.5 pounds over my holding weight. And this is a bow that I shot for the TAC events. I'll work on an official indoor setup later. But this is just one that's easy for me to work with now because it's up and ready to go. All right, here we go. Nice. That shot was dangerously close to me letting down, but it hit the spider, so it's a good gamble. Sweet. All right, behind the line, doing good, pulling through, focusing on that rear elbow, just coming through my shot, finishing my shot, and really good. Told you, it's freaking on the spider. It was sitting so nice in the middle that I just thought, okay, just keep pulling, like nothing's kind of in my happy zone. Might as well hang out in there a while. I tell people a lot who freeze off the target, or I can tell they're aiming on the spot, and the more they're on the spot, I can just see it in their eyes. They're just getting tense. That you can see they're in there, they're happy, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you can see them start to get that anxiety setting in because they feel like they're there too long and it hasn't happened. It's like, dude, your pin is telling you where the arrow goes. Aim where you want it to be. Don't be happy freezing somewhere where you know it's not going to go. You're actually not afraid to miss when you freeze off the target, because if you're afraid to miss, you'd be more likely to put your pin on the target, right? I tell people, I'm like, well, I think you're afraid to hit because you're not putting your pin where it's gonna hit. So don't be afraid of hitting the target. Most people are afraid of missing, so they force that arrow and try to force that shot. Just be happy where you're at. Let it happen naturally. All right, there we go. One of the things I'm going to talk about before this end is drawing. I tell people a lot the draw efficiency. So when you see me draw back, you can tell I'm actually drawing right here. And then as I bring my release up to my anchor point, I'm loading that part of my back that I want for back tension. When people draw way up here and then try to bring it down, you load a different place on your back where the activation of this starts to get a little bit tricky. So try to draw here and bring that right up just like that. The other thing too is if you ever have a loop break or a misfire when you're drawing here, much safer than drawing directly at your face all the time. And again, from a technique point of view, way more critical to draw where you're loading that rhomboid properly. All right, here we go. Nice. Behind the line. Nice. Going good. Those of you joining in late, we're in the middle of a practice session. We're doing some coaching as I go. Things are going good. Fourth arrows are just pounding. Super happy. Been shooting really good round. Timing's been awesome. Again, focus is behind the line, and that's what I'm telling myself. Pull through, engage, and finish that shot strong. So really comfortable, easy practice. 7 down. 3 to go. All right, here we go. That's when I'm in perfect shooting shape. That shot is 100 out of 100. Like, honestly, sometimes when I'm in a situation where I just need one arrow It's like, I need one arrow. Just got to go back in that database and think about that one arrow that felt so perfect that you can just think about every aspect of it and duplicate it. That's the one right there. Felt so freaking good. That's what I'm striving for. That's what I want. And that was it again. Literally rehearsed that in my mind. I thought about every aspect of what that last shot just felt like. Felt freaking awesome. And then I just totally duplicated it. Look at that. Bottom two. Freaking perfect. I'm telling you, this is the thing when I'm working with students and I see them just make that one shot that looked so effortless. I tell them, that's the one you have to remember. Good shots are the easiest ones to make. The hardest shots are the ones that are bad shots that take so long and so much effort, and you're overholding, you're out of oxygen, you're pulling hard. Feel like you're pulling your bow in half, but the front shoulders just collapse and collapse and collapse, and you feel like you're just breaking your bow in half, but all you're doing is just giving it all back. The bad shots are the easiest ones. All right, here we go, 8. My mistake, bad shots are the hardest ones. It's the good ones that are just so easy. It's like sometimes when people make their first good shot, they almost have this idea of like, oh, like that. And I tell them like that is how effortless a good shot should be. But so many people struggle and they think about so much. It's just like if you don't play golf in a long time and you go out and all of a sudden you just step up to the tee box that one time and you just swing, you don't think about it because you're like, I haven't been out here for freaking 2 years, and you swing and just make this perfect drive. It's like, well, wait a minute. I wasn't thinking about all this stuff. Grip, stance, turning my wrists over, backswing, stopping parallel. You weren't thinking about all that. You just swung and it was perfect. That's kind of what you want when it comes to your archery shots. All right, here we go. Baby. Freaking money. I love shooting archery when it happens like this. It's so fun. Pounding. Things are just going good. So typically, if I was practicing right now on my own, had tunes going, this is kind of a time where for me, I would feel like I'm somewhat getting into a flow state to where, and keep in mind, I know that I'm hitting right a lot. I'm just not moving my sight but when it's just right, every one of these is just on the right side of that X ring. And just not to mention the timing and the fact I'm shooting pretty much a 3D hybrid bow, not an indoor bow. If I shot an indoor bow with larger arrows, longer, bigger fletch, stabilize that thing faster, a little bit heavier point weight, slow things down. I'm going to shrink this group up immediately just from that. So, all right, let's give it another one here. But yeah, normally this is a time where I feel like I'd be really close to being in a flow state during practice, especially if I had some tunes, and just really focusing on my cadence, my count, all these things have drawn back. Honestly, I absorb a lot of sensory, right? So even me raising the bow, hearing my clothes move, like I said, I haven't cleaned this bow in a while, so I need to lubricate my limb pockets. But I've got that little, I know I'm coming into my pocket. I feel my hand touch my face. I hear that safety come off. And all those sensories are just firing right now. That's just helping me develop the shot that I'm here in practice to strive for. Feels freaking good. One of my mantras, I'm not sure if that's the last in, I'll do one more just to wrap this up. But one of my mantras when I competed was, in my head, instead of counting, I would say to myself, I shoot X's because it makes me feel good. I shoot X's because it makes me feel good. I shoot X's because it makes me feel good. I would tune out a lot. I know that, as a person, if you've listened to the podcast, you've heard me say a lot of times, I struggle with ADD, actually clinically proven ADD, ADHD, and an LD, if you can believe that. But one of the things is I've always been able to tune stuff out, just like sometimes I'm in my own world and someone's talking to me and it's really rude because I don't hear them. But when I get into those zones in archery, my archery it becomes better than when I'm listening to everyone and I'm distracted by everything except for what I call my box, okay? Shooting within my box, and that's why I love writing things down underneath myself like this, is because this really helps me just come into this little zone, just like in Star Trek when they beam you in and you have that little circle around you. That's my place, is right there. And that's really all I think about. So here we go, friends, foe, whatever you are. I'm gonna put FOMO down there, wrap up this freaking session, and head into Friday on a high note. Here we go. Behind the line. Nice. Nice. It's a nice one. 44. I should not be able to do that. Here we go. DFC, baby, last one. All right. That practice is a wrap. Friends, thank you for spending your boss's time watching this practice sesh. So, finished with a lot of inside out. It's awesome. Thanks everybody for joining in. Have a good weekend. I'm going to go home, cook some chicken tonight, and hopefully Smokin' Joe, Rogan's new kill cliff, hopefully is at the house. I want to try that. So see you everybody. Have a good one.